The Battle of Atlantis championship game just wrapped up, and it ended up being another scrappy classic between the Huskies and Gamecocks, with this time South Carolina coming out on top. It was an intense and fun battle, but in the end, South Carolina's offense seemed a lot more polished than UConn's, and they were overall the better team on the night. There are quite a few takeaways from this game, a lot of positives and negatives for both sides. So that's what I want to look at today. In today's video, I'll be discussing the good, the bad, and the ugly from the number 1 and 2 matchup, and what I believe this game has indicated for each team moving forward. Before we start, if you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe. For more women's basketball content like this, I'm aiming to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, with that being said, let's talk about this game. Firstly, let's talk about the UConn Huskies. While the Huskies did disappoint in the end today, losing by 16 and only scoring 3 points in the entirety of the fourth quarter, there were definitely some positives to take out of the game. The Huskies started the game really well, including a 20-2 run in the first quarter, led not only by Paige Bueckers, but many members of the supporting cast. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, the Huskies needed other players outside of Bueckers to step up to win this game. A diverse and unpredictable offense was going to be key to keeping South Carolina on their toes. They got that in the first quarter with Avina Westbrook's hot start and brilliant defense from Olivia Nelson-Ododa, and it's why UConn looked so good out the gate. UConn's defense was also really impressive to begin the game as well, forcing 10 turnovers in the first half. The transition buckets that UConn got from these defensive stops helped them find their groove and get going, as South Carolina's offense made it difficult for them to score on the half court. UConn's passing was also key to getting good looks, led by Paige Bueckers, who dished out 7 assists in this match to go along with 19 points. Paige was incredible again today. There wasn't much you could falter on, and she did an enormous number of things offensively for this team, whether that was playmaking and finding open teammates on a no-look pass, or knocking down important shots when needed. Unfortunately for UConn though, that's kind of where the positives end. The first half was great for them. They seemed on top of the match in my view, but after half-time it was a different ball game, and the glaring issues in UConn's game became exposed. The first big issue that UConn have had this season and continue to have trouble with in this game was rebounding. Plain and simple, rebounds lost UConn the game tonight, as they were absolutely torched on the glass by South Carolina, led by the dominant presence of Aaliyah Boston. In the end today, UConn were out-rebounded by 18, 44-26, which is simply unacceptable for a team wanting to win the national championship. What's even worse is 21 of South Carolina's rebounds were offensive rebounds. That's just not good enough, and it's something that kept South Carolina alive even when UConn were making that impressive run. I've said before, a team like South Carolina is going to make you pay for allowing so many offensive rebounds, definitely more so than a team like Minnesota or South Florida, and that's exactly what happened tonight. After a big run from the Huskies in the first, South Carolina got back in the game through rebounding, and that's all they needed to get a stranglehold on the game, and in the end, win it. Another issue for UConn in this game was their lack of offense outside of Paige, particularly in the second half. As South Carolina made a hot start to the second half and UConn struggled, the Huskies went back to a heavy reliance on Paige to generate the offense. That's not a bad idea considering how elite she is, and to her credit, she was able to make some important tough shots in the third. But as I've said before, it's just not sustainable. That became extremely evident in the fourth quarter, where UConn scored just 3 points. UConn were looking a lot more dominant when other players like Olivia Nelson-Ododa and Avina Westbrook were contributing alongside Paige. As I said before, that versatility and depth is what makes Auriemma's system so dangerous. But when that is removed, like South Carolina were able to do so today, UConn struggled, and unfortunately for them, it has resulted in their first loss of the season. I also think defense is still a bit of an issue for the Huskies. It's certainly improving, don't get me wrong. That was evident in UConn's first half, where they forced a lot of turnovers. But there's still a lot of miscommunications on defense, allowing for open threes, which enables a worse team to stay in the game, or in today's case, allow for a better team to take over. The Huskies' biggest problem though defensively ties back into rebounding. Again, defense is improving, but the Huskies are struggling to finish off defensive efforts with a rebound. If UConn can simply prevent teams from gathering so many offensive rebounds, they're going to blow teams out the park. I can't emphasize that anymore. The offense for the most part is excellent, but just that one area in rebounding is letting UConn down big time, and all in all, lost them the game today. Luckily for UConn, it's still very early in this season. We're just 4 games in, so there's plenty of time for these issues to be sorted out. This match today is a perfect opportunity for the Huskies to realize what's gone wrong and where they can improve to be the championship caliber team that they're expected to be. Again, there's a lot of things I like about UConn right now, and it's hard to rank them lower than second still in the AP poll. But there are also certainly some glaring issues that concern me and will need to be addressed ASAP before these two teams meet again later in the season. With that being said though, I don't think this game overall was terrible for UConn. The final scoreline definitely makes it seem like a worse performance than it was. The Huskies are definitely still a top 2 team in the country and were outplaying the Gamecocks for the majority of the first half. UConn were looking amazing to begin the match. However, everything just kind of fell apart in the second half and particularly that fourth quarter, as South Carolina made the most of the Huskies' weaknesses, and overall, that has led to the loss today. But again, while there are a lot of negatives for UConn out of this game, there's also plenty of positives, and I do want to emphasize that. Let's move on to South Carolina now, because this win for them is mainly due to their successes, not so much UConn's downfalls. The Gamecocks defense was unreal today. They made it so difficult for UConn to score consistently out of half-court sets. Aaliyah Boston's presence inside was a major factor in keeping UConn under pressure offensively, and they were able to limit the impact of UConn's supporting cast. Offensively, it was the Zaya Cook and Aaliyah Boston show. Both were instrumental to leading their team to victory today. Cook finished the game with 17 points and Aaliyah Boston posted 22, while absolutely dominating the glass, finishing the match with 15 boards. Overall, as I said at the start of the video, South Carolina just looked far more polished offensively than UConn. They were getting the shots they wanted, and apart from their sloppy start, they committed a lot of turnovers. They were able to maintain possession of the ball really well. I think they just had 4 turnovers in the second half. It was a near perfect game for SC. Really not much else to ask for, and it puts any doubts to bed about this team. They look like the real deal. South Carolina are easily the best team in the competition right now. It is early, and a lot can change between now and March, but after today's match, you can see that there's quite a clear-cut gap between the number 1 team in the country and the number 2 team. The Gamecocks are looking very scary. We'll have to wait and see how the rest of the season plays out for South Carolina, but I wouldn't blame you at all if you predict today that they'll be the team to beat when it comes down to the big dance in March. Overall, this was a fun matchup, and I'm glad to see it got the airtime that it deserved, being played on ESPN. Again, it is early in the season. Both teams have played a combined 10 games, so I won't overreact too much to this win and loss for each team. However, I think with this being the toughest matchup of the season to date for both teams, we've gotten some great indicators with where each team is at, and I just wanted to look at that today. UConn have some things to work out, and South Carolina look in mid-season form, aside from a couple of hiccups here and there. I mean, they've now beaten the number 5 ranked team in NC State and the number 2 ranked team in the country. That is a very impressive start to the season through their first 6 games. It's going to be very exciting to see where these teams are at come the 27th of January when they meet again, and how that match will play out. It will be must-watch TV. But for now, South Carolina seem like the real deal, and the Huskies have quite a way to go just yet. So those are my thoughts on today's game between the number 1 ranked South Carolina and number 2 ranked UConn Huskies. What were your thoughts on today's game? How good is South Carolina to you? What does UConn need to do to get on the Gamecocks level? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.